Welcome to Passive Income DDS, the podcast where we help dental professionals create freedom beyond the chair. I'm your host, Cynthia Sperlin, tax strategist and passive income engineer. Today, I'm thrilled to sit down with Dr. Yar Khan, a dentist and entrepreneur who embodies what it means to diversify your income and design a life on your own terms. We'll talk about his journey from clinical success to financial independence, the mindset shifts, the lessons learned, and how he's built a legacy that goes far beyond dentistry. So, if you've ever wondered how to turn your hard earned income into lasting wealth, stay tuned. This conversation is going to inspire you to take action. So, welcome, Dr. Khan. I'm so excited to have you here today. We've spoken so many times, and I've learned so much each time I talk to you. I think you're going to share some really powerful information with our audience today. Welcome, welcome.
Well, thank you, Cynthia. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
Oh, I'm so excited for you to share your career as a dentist and an entrepreneur. It's so inspiring. What actually caused you to go into dentistry to begin with?
Yeah, it's a good story. It's just about how life, and destiny has a plan for you, and you're moving in a different direction, and then life resets you back into the real direction that is actually destined for you. So I was really
Right.
preparing hard for my admission in the medical school in India. So I had like five really good friends, and we were all preparing together. And, you know, two of them at the last moment, like about 6 months before the examination, decided to go into engineering side of things. And three of us, we decided to pursue medicine. So after we took the exam, the results came out, and I missed my med school by 1 point. So I
Oh,
was really, really sad about it. I was like so upset that, I will waste either 1 year because I have to take the exam again, or I have to go to the next best, which was dentistry. So I didn't want to waste my year. So, after some discussions with friends and family, because, those times were difficult too for the family. I mean, it was a time when uh, some financial situations were not right, and the family was reeling under the pressure of finances and stuff. And I was getting a seat in the dental, like government dental college, which was very prestigious by itself because it was very competitive. Uh, and everything related to my dental education would be free, something that the government of India does for students who are very meritorious.
mm,
So I just decided to get into dentistry with a half-hearted, you know, I was preparing for medicine. So it was a half-hearted kind of a situation where I got into dentistry. But then 1 year into dentistry, I got a call from the med school saying that, okay, this year, the people that applied, their percentages dropped, and you're automatically eligible because your application is still active. So would you want to take that position? But I had already explored dentistry to a great deal, and I really enjoyed it in that first year of my education. So I decided to stay put, and then I gave up my med school seat for that. So it was just a matter of a year for me to realize that dentistry was for me. And I was steered into that direction by not by my will, but by some forces of destiny. So that's the story about getting into dental school.
well, that's really interesting how it things happen out of your control, but it actually works out well in the end. So looking back, hindsight, you can see that it was the best path for you.
Yes, destiny plans for you. You just have to put your work in, and then you get the results. And most importantly, sometimes you don't even should worry about the results, because no matter how hard you try, sometimes things don't go your direction, and that's when you start realizing that there is a destiny, and whatever is supposed to happen will happen. Just put in your hard work and keep striving.
So then now you're a dentist. And so what was your first 5 years like as a dentist?
Yeah, so I right out of dental school, I started working for an oral surgeon, and then I started planning to have my own operation because I realized that early on that working for somebody else was not my forte. I was
Mm,
an entrepreneur at heart, and yeah, I needed to learn the business from somebody who knew. But at the same time, I always felt like, working for yourself is the best way. And you control everything. You're able to, nurture yourself as a clinician as well as a business person. I mean, so within like first 6 months into the field of dentistry practicing, I started my first office in India, which
really? 6 months in?
yes, 6 months in.
So how
And
did you do that? Did you have to go look for an office? Did you make a business plan? How did you just launch into that? Did you have a mentor that was guiding you?
so basically, the oral surgeon I was working with was my mentor, and I had a friend who still is here, Dr. Mujib Ashrafi. He practices in Houston, very close to where I live, and he was the one who guided me through the process. But he was a couple of years senior to me, and he was working for the same oral surgeon. And I found a dentist who had retired and had all his equipment in his garage. I
Mm,
went and talked to him and I said, your equipment is lying in garage. I need it because I wanted to start a low budget operation because, like I told you, financial situation was not perfect at that time for my family. So we went there along with my uncle and then we looked at the stuff. I said, okay, I'm going to pay you X amount. The dentist agreed. And then I decided to open the practice in my neighborhood where I lived. And I found a spot. It was a very small spot, about 150 square foot. I put one,
wow.
I put one chair in there and I started my business with that one chair.
Very
And I
modest.
really enjoyed it. Yeah.
How did you advertise to get clients?
Well, I put a big billboard on top of my office, and then that's it. Basically, wherever I would go, I would carry my business cards with me, hand out the business cards, tell people to come over for dental work and stuff like that. And that's what advertising was like in those days. I'm talking about 1996.
Wow, that's over 20 years ago. So then how did you do with that practice? Was it profitable from the beginning?
Yeah, I mean it did pretty good. I mean, I had a low budget operation. I had one staff member and myself, and we did pretty good. I mean, first month into it, uh, it was a little bit of a cash burn. Second month, I became profitable. It's not very difficult in India to run an operation because there's not a lot of red tape and stuff, and it was fine. I mean, plus the fact that cost of living was low and all of that, so turning a profit was not that difficult. So
Okay.
we turned a profit in the second month, and it was not a huge profit, but it was getting me by. It was, you know, uh, like saving me some money for myself as a salary, and the business started growing. I mean, within a year, 2 years, it was a very good business by standards of India. And then, when I was in the third year, my brother joined me. He became a dentist too from the same dental institution I graduated from. And then he joined my practice, and it so happened that the patients were so in tune to me that they would be like, okay, we want to see the senior Yarkhan because that's who we've been seeing. So my brother started feeling like, okay, people don't want to see him, and what would I do in this practice? So he said, let me maybe try to find another job at another office, and that may be better for both of us. Right around that time, I got a call from Ministry of Health in Saudi Arabia, where I interviewed for a position, and they recruited me as a dental surgeon uh, in a place called Abha. And I just got excited. Now I handed over the key of my office to my brother and said, okay, now they don't have a choice. They have to see you. or they have to go to another place. So I left for Saudi Arabia. My brother took care of my office, and by the way, that office still stands today. My brother is a dentist in a city called Nagpur, and he's doing pretty well.
That's great. That is a great story. And what happened when you went to Saudi Arabia? How long were you there?
So in Saudi Arabia, I practiced for 3 years, but while I was practicing over there, I had made up my mind that I want to study further. And what better place to go for studies than to come to United States, which is the helm of all cutting edge technology and cutting edge advances in dentistry. So I decided to apply to several programs. I wanted to do a specialization, and then I applied to various programs. I got a call from University of Missouri, Kansas City, for a combination of general practice residency and radiology program. So I took that position. 1 year into that program, after I finished my GPR, I got a call from LSU for the position of a resident in pediatric dentistry. So I took up that position, finished my pediatric dentistry certification from LSU. And then around that time, when I was in the second year of my residency, we had a big incident. Katrina hit New Orleans, and everybody knows what happened. So me and my wife, who was 7.5 months pregnant with our first child, just started driving with traffic, and the traffic ended up in Houston. It
Wow.
took us 18 hours to
Ooh.
come to Houston. With her situation, it was pretty desperate situation. She was almost 8 months pregnant, and I came here. We took an apartment basically, and then I decided to go to the UT Houston Dental Program, Pediatric Dentistry Department, and I spoke with the program director that I'm displaced. This is a real situation. I would like for you to consider taking me in as a visiting resident. So that came as a surprise to them, as because pediatric dentistry programs are very structured, organized, and this was a bummer. And then they have a somebody who's coming in and saying to them that absorb me. How would they change the schedules and how would they manage that? But they saw the situation and they saw that the medical side of the health industry was already doing visiting resident type of situations all across the country. So they took that step. They communicated with my program chair and the program director, and then they decided to keep me. So that set a precedent for other residents too, who were also displaced, six of them. One of them got absorbed in Boston, one in Dallas, one in Alabama,
Oh, wow.
several places, and then all of us had a spot. So
Yeah, you're a trendsetter.
yeah, kind of.
Yeah, that's really great. So now you complete your studies, and do you start your own practice in Houston, or did you work for someone for a bit?
So that when I was in Houston finishing up my residency, it was 6 months that I stayed here, and then I went back to New Orleans to finish up the remainder of the program, about 3 months that were left. Um, so the work that I put in here in Houston, working alongside residents and faculty, somehow it impressed the faculty significantly, and there was a position that opened up at UT for an associate professor. They recommended my name, and then they sent me a letter saying that we want to take you in as a faculty. And I just couldn't deny it. They helped me in my difficult times, and so I said, okay, I'll join as a faculty. So I came back to New Orleans, came back to UT Houston as a faculty teaching pediatric dentistry, and I carried that on for 3 years before I decided to go into private practice. One of my co-faculty at UT, Dr. Freddie Cisak, now deceased, actually introduced me to another of his friend, pediatric dentist, who was trying to sell his practice, Dr. Jerry McGowan. Again, he's deceased now. Uh, And I talked to him. I liked his practice philosophy. He was willing to do owner financing for me, which was a big deal
Mm,
for me.
okay.
And I just got into this practice. It was a very, very modest practice, doing pretty low numbers, but it had two chairs. And I started here, and I'm sitting in that office right now. Now we
Wow.
have 21 chairs in that office, and
What?
it's a booming practice. Yeah.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So what year was that you bought this practice?
So it was in 2010.
Okay.
And
Okay.
in 15 years time, it has done really well, and we have a good reputation in the community, and we see a lot of patients.
That's wonderful. Now, did you learn from when you had the practice with your brother, how people want to see the name dentist? So did you do things differently when you to have 21 chairs now?
So I was fortunate that I was not landlocked, and the building was not like fully occupied. So there used to be an orthodontist next door. So his space was completely plumbed for a dental office. So he decided to have his own place nearby. He bought a property and then built his practice over there. So the space became empty. So it was a catch-22 type of situation because it would have really increased my rent. But I took the step, the rent went up, and then I basically set up that office with additional chairs, and then I left my existing space and went into that space. So at that time we had 12 chairs. So
Oh,
then, after about a year or two staying at that space, I saw growth, and I decided to, go back into my space to expand that space into a newer space. And now we are in both the spaces, the orthodontic space that was there, and then the original space, and that's how we just expanded in sections. And then
okay.
now we have those 21 chairs. So there was good growth. I mean, it was related to a lot of things, and alongside building these new operatories in my first existing office, I also started a couple of new offices because I was seeing the growth. And there were lots of other logistics and dynamics that were involved with finding these new practices and then setting up teams and advancing the business.
So
Um,
how many locations do you have now?
so now we have 12 locations across Houston metropolitan area, and we have a solid team of caretakers of the office, I call them. All our assistants, all our hygienists, practice managers, practice leaders, and the whole staff accounting to almost like 145 people, and
Ooh.
about 17 or 18 doctors, including specialists. So it's a big team. And then we also set up a team of about 350 people in India to tackle the back office operations activity from India over a period of time. And we're not just catering my own offices in that team. They're helping about 175 clients who are dental offices that need help with their back office operations. And it's a great setup. And we do really good quality work for people and help them out in their pursuit of profitable businesses.
So that means that after you develop these different locations and what you learned over the years and putting this into place, managing, really becoming the businessman, in addition to the dental part of it, you're applying this what you've learned to other people. So what does that look like? And when did that become like like a big part of your daily activities?
Yeah, so when I was on my second practice, so like I have a cousin who's also my partner, Tausif, and he had some health issues. His mother had some health issues, and he decided to go back to India. So within like 3 to 6 months of his return back to India, he was like reeling with financial stress related to not having a job of his choice. So I told him, the whole operational side of dental. How about we hire like, five, seven people and set up computer systems and an office for them so that they can do some work related to the practices that I have here. And that will ease up the pressure of hiring more people here. So he liked the idea and then, he got on work with it and basically set it up within a month. And we started offloading some of the labor intense work. I call it labor intense because, it's a lot of work in a dental office. I mean, all of my colleagues in the dental field will agree that, from the point of the patient making that phone call to the point the balance of the patient on the ledger becomes zero. There is a lot of background work that every dental office has to do to make sure that all the monies are collected. But unfortunately, a lot of my colleagues are not watching all of this properly in their offices, and they tend to get losses because of that. But I've always stayed on top of the game, and because in my first practice, I started from grassroots levels. I did my own credentialing. I used to send my own claims out. I used to follow up on the AR. I used to make sure that the payments are posted correctly in the ledgers. So all these grassroots level things that I knew because I did it on my own helped me train the people back in India. And along with Tausif, we created a solid team and this is how we were able to cut down the costs significantly. And I mean, I think there were a few years starting from 2016 where I had my EBITDA at 35%, which is unheard of in the dental field. Just because, I was able to streamline processes where the labor intense work was given in India and all the knowledge intense work stayed here in the US. Because again, I mean, it's not only labor, there's a lot of knowledge that gets imparted into doing the actual work in a dental office. So all that knowledge intense work we kept here with our managers and treatment coordinators and billers. And then, whatever requires a lot of paperwork, a lot of phone call, a lot of time, we kept giving it in India. So some of my friends who were very close to me saw the progress that I was making, and we had interactions, and they knew that I set up a team. So they approached me saying that, okay, can you please set up a team for us? I talked to Tausif, and he said, yes, we can do it. So we set up a team for five of my colleagues, and then that increased our capacity to 25 people. And that led to advancements and, word of mouth spread. And we just started building our teams and delivering on the promises that we made to our clients. And that's how that business grew. But, the most important thing that I learned was there were a lot of gaps in the knowledge that my colleagues have, and then that became my passion. So I started educating people and my colleagues, specifically dentists and dentist owners, on what are the best practices that relate to running the business of dentistry. And whatever I learned, I started imparting that knowledge, and people appreciated that. And, that became my passion. I always tell a new dentist who is beginning to own a practice or beginning to do an associateship with another organization that do not neglect the business side of dentistry. That's very, very important. And it's really not that difficult. So for some reason, this idea has been hammered into dentists' minds that business is difficult, and there is a cliche people come across in the management field and come across and tell the dentist that you do what's best for you and what you went to school for, which is clinical dentistry, and then let us handle your business. That's where they fall. I mean, I feel like it's a trap. It's not like every person is like that, but I've seen way too many people fall for that trap and fall for that cliche, and I dissuade them from that. So if you can learn dentistry and you can do a beautiful root canal, which to me in itself is a rocket science. I tell them, it's not easy to do a very good root canal, for example, and for that matter, other pieces of the dental work that people do. If you can do that, you can do business. Business is
Yes.
easy. So if you can spend, 15 minutes, half an hour of your time spending on, looking at the business side of things. It can begin from as small a thing as looking at the day sheet at the end of the day so that you can see whatever work you have done is being charged out. And you can notice because it's fresh in your mind on that day, you can notice, okay, you did an extraction here, but that is not visible on the day sheet.
Mm.
You can mark it, you can write down in there, okay, now extraction is not charged out, or for that matter, one X-ray was not charged out. X-ray for most part is under $20. But that $20, if it happens like for one X-ray one day, it adds up. I mean,
Yeah.
if you practice for 200 days, that $20 times
Ooh.
200 becomes a big amount,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is what business is. I mean, you look at things and then you make corrections and you make sure that, people are following your lead. And you know what? Another thing that happens with staff when you're doing that, staff becomes careful. They feel like they're accountable for things. And they know that their boss is watching things and they know that, they cannot make mistakes because he's gonna catch them and it doesn't look good upon them that, their mistakes are getting caught on a daily basis. So it keeps everybody honest. It makes the business run like a business, not like, anybody wanting to do whatever they want to do. Plus, it keeps things in compliance because if there are mistakes happening with your billing, you're going out of compliance, and they are not the one who are going to get hurt with that. You're the one who's going to get hurt with that, with audits not going your way, and some other things happening. So all the accountability is yours. So I always say take the accounts for that reason. It's very, very important, and taking accounts is business.
Right.
So learn that part and learn the business.
Yeah. So having command over the management of the business is a really important part because they're working with their patients so closely. So the immediate objective is to help the patient solve the problem of their oral care. But the bigger picture is always keeping in mind the vision of what the practice can do for exiting for retirement. So part of that is passive income, I believe, and part of this conversation in all of my talks with dentists is stepping beyond the profit and how to marshal that profit into work that can create passive income, investments that can create passive income. What's your attitude about passive income and how have you implemented that in your business and your wealth plan?
So, I mean, whenever I started my dental office, it was absolutely the passion of clinical dentistry that I had, and the passion that, I would be able to do whatever I like in my practice and learn as much as I can with my patients and do the best dentistry for them over a period of years. So we all know that dentistry has burnout. So like within the first 5 years of practicing, I started feeling that burnout because I was working really hard. And then I started thinking about the same concept that you've been teaching dentists, right? Passive income. And the most important thing I learned was, okay, I have these chairs in my office and they're not being optimally utilized. What can I do about that? So the immediate response was that, okay, hire an associate. So because at that time, being a pediatric dentist and a dentist who has had an extensive about 10 years of experience as a general dentist, I was doing everything in my practice, not just pediatric dentistry. I was also placing implants, taking wisdom teeth out. But both the businesses grew. And then I thought, I should just focus on doing pediatric dentistry and hire a general dentist to do all of these other things. And that's what I did. So, what did that do? It created a measure and a way for me to create passive income based off of somebody else's work, right? So, associateship is that. So, if you have an associate in your organization, that associate is working and they are making money for you. All you have to do is to provide them with patients and provide them with the work that they like. So that's one way of making passive income. And
Mm-hmm.
for
Mm-hmm.
me, what I did was I did not uh, diversify into other things like some of my colleagues do. You know, some people open restaurants and some people go into real estate.
Yeah.
Some people will open up maybe a sporting business or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I decided to stay within the realm of dentistry.
Okay.
So my way of creating that passive income was, opening offices, making sure that, I have right associates and the right teams in there. And then I offshooted into creating a team of, so to speak, human capital that can help
Yeah.
other dentists to succeed. So
Yeah.
that became another business. And then
Uh-huh.
5 years into that business, I started realizing that, people, the clients, we had some complaints from the clients, and some of my colleagues here in Houston complained about certain things that were not right. So I investigated that further and I found gaps. And both me and Tausif realized that, these gaps can bring our business down. So that gave rise to, creating accountability through technology. So we started exploring technology and we got our teams into some technologies that were like absolutely disconnected and but they still helped. We converted our spreadsheets into Zoho programs and we ran a pilot and we saw that, okay, things became better with our employees not being as lazy and not being accountable and stuff like that. So that gave rise to Dentrax. I was like, okay, this system on Zoho is not very friendly and it has a lot of limitations. My vision is to have a platform where it's specifically designed for dental. So we started building Dentrax from scratch. So
Mm-hmm.
again, I mean, Dentrax got created over a period of 7 years. But we always created Dentrax for use in our own organization, whether it was for my offices or it was for the client's offices, but we were using it at the back end.
Yeah.
About a year ago, I was talking to my father-in-law's friend, Mr. Ghazi, who's my advisor on Dentrax now, and he's a ex Microsoft. He retired. I mean, he quit Microsoft from a very, very high leading position, and then he started his own companies, and he basically exited a couple of times. So when I showed him my technology, he was like really blown away with what we have created, and he was like, "Okay, if this technology helps dentists, why don't you convert it into a SaaS model?" and directly license it out to dentists. Why just keep it to your clients who are your clients on the services side? I really liked the idea, but I didn't know what SaaS was. So he taught me, he educated me, mentored me, and that's what led to actually creation of Dentrax as a SaaS company
Mm-hmm.
with AI-powered technology, where we unleashed it and launched it in July of 2024 to be able to license it out to dentists on a modular basis. So these are all the sources that I have created for myself in terms of creating that passive income. And along the way, what I learned was it not only helped my practices and my clients' practices, it helped me a lot in tax savings. It helped me a lot in different ways that, the United States government helps entrepreneurs to create businesses, to nurture businesses and help them with, tax rebates and stuff like that. And all of that becomes powerful, right? So
Yes.
as a business owner, there is a lot of learning that's involved
Mm-hmm.
in being an entrepreneur
Yes.
and having an open mind and having the capability to learn from whoever is capable of teaching you and making those networks and going out and meeting people. All of that became so critical, and I realized from early on that this is the way to go forward. And I just kept creating these businesses, and I'm mighty happy with the way they turned out.
Yes, you should definitely be proud, and I know your family is proud. You persevered through a lot of challenges along the way, but you didn't let those obstacles stop you. And because of that, you've helped many people in your practice, which is such a blessing to your community, as well as what you're doing for your colleagues and peers in this industry, to have a mechanism, software that they can use to simplify and understand what's going on in their practice, it can give them less stress in their day to day. Like when you're part of you, I would imagine at the chair, you're focused on your business, but then there's in the back of your mind, you're like, oh my gosh, I've got my lunch break. Try to look at these numbers or answer questions of other people at the same time, needing supervision and guidance and personalities that happen with the staff. So, in so many ways, by taking some of this into a remote staff, it decreases the personality changes and happenings and the dynamics in the office. It gives your business is practically running 24 hours a day. I mean, that's a kind of the virtual passive way to run your business. I think you can save a lot by having staff that works remotely as well, right? So, I mean,
Absolutely.
so many ways you're making such a huge impact in dentistry, in your community and with your clients and with your peers. And I think it's really huge. This type of tool, the SaaS tool, can also minimize the burnout that a lot of the doctors are experiencing as well. So, and this is something that really needs to be brought to the awareness of the dentist. So it's something that I definitely advocate on your behalf when I talk to dentists, is to look at this, program, have an audit so they can see where the gaps are and the leaks are in their business. It's really huge. And so, you know, I think that this is something that needs to be heard, and I can't wait to put this out onto social media to attract attention to what you're doing, because it's a big part of the passive, income and the reduction of stress and just enjoying your practice better, enjoying your life better, right?
Absolutely. And you're very kind. Thank you for saying that. See, I mean, I'll give you a use case. Say, for example, you have two front desks, okay, and they are like one of them is basically checking in a patient, answering phone calls, and checking out a patient, and looking at everything related to the insurance. And there's another one who's doing eligibility verifications and making sure that all of that is in order. And there are patients that walk in who have change of insurances, and she has to get on the phone and stay on the phone for 30 minutes to get verification and things like that. Now, okay, how do you channelize that? And then you have a big list of unscheduled treatments that are sitting on your books, and some of those patients are calling. Their calls are slipping through the cracks. Sometimes, the front desk is so busy they're not able to answer. It goes to voicemail. Nobody checks the voicemail, for example. And then that patient gets frustrated, and you're not the only rodeo in town, and they go to another dentist. So you lost the patient. You lost like some credibility in the market, and then you lost revenue. Plus, your staff is so stressed out. So, how do you convert that use case to your advantage? Okay, you have these two front desk people, you know, direct their energies to actual direct patient care, like so that that phone call cannot be missed, or they are proactively calling the list that is in the system, which, by the way, in $1 million practice can amount to $250,000, because nobody is paying attention to it. um, and that is one of the metrics I look at whenever I buy a practice, which is a very important metric just for the viewers. How much of unscheduled treatment is in the books? Uh, so
Mm.
so you look at all of that and you're like, okay, why are you wasting your staff's time dealing with insurances? That can be easily offshored. So, make your staff available for your patients. Give your patients an excellent experience. These two staff members can basically be doing everything related to what the patient care requires directly, be it from sending them online forms to having a direct two-way communication with the patients rather than being on the phone and getting frustrated about not being able to tackle the AR, and the business owner dentist is on top of their heads because the AR is not getting collected. Now, obviously, he needs money in the bank to pay the payroll. So all of that stress adds up. So why can't we compartmentalize this into a knowledge intense work and a labor intense work? This is what I did. So keep all the knowledge intense and customer service oriented intense work in your office, and then give everything which is labor intense. Let somebody else deal with the insurance companies, which are absolutely annoying and they're constantly undercutting you and not paying you. Let somebody else deal with that with accountability. I'm not saying don't take accountability, and that's why we give reports. We give weekly reports, and then Dentrax can give you reports on the click. You can just select a date range and then you can get any kind of reporting as to what's happening with your AR, what's happening with your eligibility, what's happening with your billing, what's happening with your staff incentives, what's happening with your accounting. All of that with a click of a button, as long as you select the date range that you want to look at. So all of that is at your fingertips, and then we have resources who are trained in Dentrax, trained in your patient management software, and trained with the processes. So all you have to teach them are the processes that govern your practice. So every office can do certain things differently. But then we have people who have the brains and the knowledge of handling the process, as long as they know how your office runs that process. Example, your office may do the payment posting a little bit differently than other offices, right? So as long as they know that how your office does it, we can put a resource in your office and then take away all that stress from you at fraction of a cost. So for example, if you had to hire, say, these two front desk people who are stressed out right now, you decide you want to hire another person. That person can cost you $4,000, and we are only charging you $1,200 to $1,500. So you're already saving up a lot before
Yes.
you hire another person in your
Yes.
office. You take care of your existing office personnel and then hire that extra person from us, which comes at a fraction of a cost. And then the technology. So all the office members get that technology. All the office members can see how their incentives are being run with full transparency. They can have very clear targets. They get an opportunity almost to run their own business within your business, which everybody likes. The way we have created the incentive, which is a staff incentive tool, is that we gamified it. So everybody who loves playing games, right? So we gamified it in a way which creates constructive competition. It creates constructive accountability, and it helps teams to work like teams. So all of that is very powerful, and it can help practices truly like at least retain all the revenue that they're making. It's very painful to see practices losing the revenue that they have already created, but it's just supposed to come from the insurance. So they leave it on the table. It's very sad, and sometimes it's very annoying to see that. I mean, you already made that money, but all you had to do is collect it, and that's not collected. And I mean, the dynamics are not how people calculate them to be. The dynamics are, if you're taking care of a patient for $100, say you took care of a procedure for a patient and the cost of that procedure is $100. So you have to spend, along with the dentist salary, $80 to make that $100. Okay. So you've already spent that $80 to take care of that patient. Now you're awaiting a collection of $100. At that time, you will make $20. That's how business of dentistry is. It's a 20% business if it's well run, right? So it's a 20% business. So if you are not able to collect those $100, you actually spend $80 out of your pocket to take care of that patient. So in a sense, you lost $180. So that's how I calculate it, and that's how I teach it. So unless people understand this, they will not become serious about, making sure that whatever production has happened in your office,
Is
to
collected.
collect it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
That's really powerful. I think that honestly, Dr. Khan, we need to have a part two of this. There is so much more to say on this subject. Would you come back again and let's have a part two and continue this conversation?
Absolutely. I mean,
Oh,
whatever you like. I
fantastic.
mean, I enjoyed always having a conversation with you. You came for the conference in Houston and we met, and you're an amazing person. And I think you're very, very knowledgeable. And people who are taking advantage of that knowledge that you impart to the community are very fortunate to have you. And yeah, absolutely. I'll be glad and willing to do it again if you need to.
Oh, Al, I can't even speak. I'm smiling. So thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it. And it was not paid.
Yeah, yeah, it's not paid. It's
Yeah,
not paid
thank
at
you.
all.
You're so kind. Thank you. What a powerful conversation with Dr. Khan. A true example of how vision and strategy can create freedom beyond the drill. If today's episode inspired you, share it with a colleague who's ready to invest smarter and stress less. And remember, your hands create smiles, but your strategy creates freedom. Connect with me on LinkedIn at Strategy with Cynthia or visit taxcodegenie.com, our sponsor, to learn how to build your own path to financial independence. Until next time, keep building wealth that works, even when you're not.